So I did kind of wanna, because we mentioned it earlier in our pre-meeting, but like just the challenges in terms of like, because like you've seen what's been going on, even in the UK, this is happening, but like violence towards and racism towards Asian and Pacific Islander folks,
Yeah.
particularly towards females and elderly.
Elderly,
Elderly,
yeah.
It's
elderly.
crazy, dude. Like, but because of the whole coronavirus thing, like people just, I don't know, the mental health is not stable right now as people, and so especially you being a female, but also being a business owner. Have you experienced anything kind of odd in terms of like,
Yeah. So in terms of my surroundings, and I'll get to my personal experience, which is weird, but
Mm.
there's it's so interesting. We are in such a liberal, diverse, extremely diverse city, Silver Spring. I mean, my team, as you saw my team, that's an example of what the city is like,
yeah,
extremely we had um like a kung fu tea, like a bubble tea place, and like a banchan place in our
oh wow,
the city right next to us got vandalized.
oh really,
It was just the
wow,
Asian businesses. And then yeah, when
wow,
this was all happening, I was freaked out, man. Like
wow.
I took my dad. There's a rural place in Maryland, and they just so happened to have a vaccine
Mhm.
available for him, so we took it. But I felt strange, I didn't want him to go there alone. So like I got out of work early and took him both times to make sure he was okay.
Yeah,
And make sure there wasn't a reaction. But um me personally, and this was kind of like a strange one. I had, so we teach classes, they're about an hour long. The specific class had kids ages 3 and 4 in it.
mm,
I had two instructors who were in there. I had this one mom bring in her daughter,
Of
African
course.
American, and
Mm.
it just so happened out of
wow,
my extremely diverse team, it happened to be two white instructors, and
Mm.
which should not even matter. But
Mm.
um, she didn't say anything while she was there, did the whole class. I got an email saying that the 3 and 4 year old kids were racist against her daughter because she is black, and the instructors who are white
Hmm.
also they were ignoring her because of her color. And I mean, this is like, again, like
oh
extremely
wow,
diverse.
okay,
Yeah, I don't even know where to put this in this whole hate thing, but anyway, so I gave her my best, like, like business owner hat, like, let's talk to you more about it. Let's find the right program. Why don't we do a one-on-one session? Um, I just say, like I'm Filipino, and I told her who I am and stuff. And but by the way, when she had emailed me the first time, she also copied um, ACLU, disabilityfeedback.org, small business, whatever, attached all these
Hmm.
organizations.
what?
Yeah, and I
Oh come
okay.
on,
So I mean, like I also copy them on my response, which is very, explaining
yeah,
everything. And she did tell me, like, one of the major things I remember from the email was saying the 3 and 4 year olds are racist against her daughter. Luckily, we have cameras at our gym, and I watched the whole class, and I asked, and she said they were not playing with her daughter, and I was like, well, we actually don't encourage playtime with each other right now because it's COVID, so we actually want kids to kind of stay far away from each other. So I was explaining little things like that. And then she emailed me saying that as I sit there in my white skin responding to her
Hmm.
and
your
now
white skin,
my white skin after I had just told her that I'm not, that I'm Filipino, um, that, yeah, that I was not apologetic to her. I wasn't empathizing with her. I basically just didn't give her what she wanted to hear, which was, and I'm sorry, and please take our program for free, is what she really wanted. So
Hmm.
then I reached out
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
corporate to help me curate a response.
Mhm.
And they told me one line that I actually regret kind of saying. I did want to acknowledge, like, hey, I'm not white, I'm
yeah, yeah,
American. And while we have different experiences, I do know what it's like to feel different. And that's the honest truth. Like I am
yeah,
in my
Hmm.
corporate world, like I am a very small minority of a business owner who is not white in the little gem world. Um, but anyways, so they held me curator response, and instead of they got rid of my sentence, which was like, I'm not white, I'm Asian American. They changed it to as a person of brown skin color. So okay, like I did that, whatever,
Okay.
corporate
Okay.
stuff. And nothing wrong with that because I mean I am brown. And
Yes.
so she responded back to me saying she's going to tell everyone to shut that my business sucks and to never go here to this racist facility. And then she took my profile picture, which is from Facebook, which is the only I'm on private profile, but my profile picture is not, I guess, which is of me and my mom in our Igorot, garb. And she said, and by the way, this is not brown. And then done. And then so I just didn't respond. I
So
felt
we're not like oppressed enough for her. That's
yeah,
essentially, she's just playing oppression Olympics.
yeah,
Is that what it
yeah. So
was?
she had already, yeah, she had a few people, or actually not a few people, just one person write a bad Google review, and then
Man, dude.
another person wrote
Yeah,
a bad
that's tough. That's a tough
review.
place.
Apparently the thing to do though
Um,
is like because I talked to corporate about it, of course, and they said the best thing to do is to leave it alone because all my
Mm.
other reviews are really
Mhm.
good, so they'll
Yeah.
know
yeah,
like who's looking
yeah,
at it. That was really
yeah.
tough. I mean, this was in the middle of the pandemic, so I'm
Mm.
feel like the business is already suffering and yeah, so while it's not your typical thing of what's going on, it was fueled with hatred and like it did suck.
Right,
Mhm.
While it was
Yeah, and from another person of color too, you know.
yeah. So
right.
I wanted to be like, hey, same team, but there isn't
Mhm.
clearly
But there's a view of Asian people, unfortunately, that goes around that we are the most complicit. That model minority thing is the myth of that is
Yeah,
really
some bullshit. Hmm.
yeah, that's some BS, and it really does hurt us in terms of like uh confronting our deeper truths, because
For one,
then
it clumps us all together, like all our experiences together as Asian people. Like we use that term as a political term to kind of like create like like critical mass, right? So we can, but at the same time, it's used against us because then when it comes to like Filipino experience, Chinese experience, Japanese, Korean, American experience, like all these different Asian experiences, Hmong, Vietnamese, Thai,
Mhm.
Laotian, like people don't get that we're not all the
no,
same.
no, they think we're
I'm like,
crazy rich Asians, like driving in that Bugatti
Right.
yeah,
Veyron,
Rice is
having
rice.
weddings
yeah.
with water flowing from the aisle and all that nonsense, man.
yeah.
Really, come on, man. Uh, come on. I mean,
Rice is rice, though.
yeah.
Rice is rice. That's right.
Rice
Rice
is
is
Good old
rice.
Joe
rice.
Coy. So,
Oh man.
so that's what you've corporate has basically told you to just kind of like you said your piece and then just leave it alone.
Yeah, because at that point, I mean, like, she already knows where my business is, right? She knows where I work.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
got my picture from Facebook, which is like, that to me just felt so threatening and just
Mhm.
so crazy. So I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to engage because the more you engage,
Mhm.
But sometimes there are
engage.
people out there who
Mhm.
are like vexatious litigants too. I mean, they looking for the fight because
Yeah.
they think they could get freebies from it too.
Yeah, it's basically like when people put their hair in food and they want their meal for free.
Yeah.
People do that. It's kind of weird
Mhm.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
it was super unfortunate. I totally, while vandalism was happening, like to the other Asian small businesses,
Yeah.
I was waiting for. I mean, I was daydreaming of like, okay, like I need to prepare myself
Wow.
if there's some graffiti
Mhm.
on the storefront, and I need to just be okay with it. Like I need to just, clean
Hmm.
it and be okay with it. Or if the glass shatters or whatever, like just already mentally preparing yourself for
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
that could come your way. I was not prepared for that though. I was totally like blindsided by that. But
Yeah, it's a challenging one, man. Because like this especially now with all the what I've observed from all this anti-Asian like hate and stuff like that, the racism and what I've observed is that people just, I don't know, they don't see us as, it's almost like they don't see. I mean, who beats up elderly people, man? I mean, like, you either have mental condition or it's just like you really
Hmm.
don't see this person as a human being.
Yeah.
You see them as something like non-existent.
Less than.
Yeah, or
Less
less than. And in general, Asian population has been ignored. We're considered like oh, they just stay in the corner kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all smarty nerds. They're gonna go to Harvard.
Yeah. They're already good. Yeah, like they're
Yeah, they're
yeah.
already privileged already.
Mhm.
Look at that.
Not dark enough.
Not dark enough. Yeah, it could be
Right.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't count. We don't
They didn't
count
count you as
sometimes.
brown, man. What the fuck, dude?
No,
Yeah.
I that really I asked some of my like team members, I was like, I am brown, right? Like makes me feel a little crazy for a day.
Hmm.
But
It
yeah.
depends where you are, because we're not, for us, we're not necessarily brown, even though we call ourselves, because there's a lot of, let's say Southeast Asian, there's a big Southeast Asian community here, and they're
Hmm.
brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't call ourselves brown like you do.
Browner.
We're not as brown.
We're not
There's
as brown.
the crayon set that I have has 100
Different
162
browns.
shades.
Yeah. Give me like 3 hours
Exactly.
sun and I'll be close. Yeah.
I know. The more sun we get,
Yeah.
can adjust
Yeah,
that
yeah.
tone really easy. Yeah, really easy.
Mhm.
So with these
Wow.
things like the Asian hate, whatever, I'm wondering if this was just always happening and it
Hmm.
just wasn't recorded and publicized like
I
like
think
it is
so.
now, or yeah, has it become like a challenge? Because I've heard of stuff like that, and then people recording that, and because of social media, or yeah, people's mental health are just down the tubes because of all the lockdown and stuff.
Hmm.
So
I
Yes,
think it's
yes,
always happened.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's just that we're paying attention to it now, because there's more people are more locked down, so then you can actually pay attention to it. And it's being reported. I don't think that Asian people typically report stuff because we don't want to get the police involved, or don't let other people know, because there's a self-hatred too. There's an internalized oppression that reminds us that maybe it's our fault for them wanting to punk on us. We are gentrifying their neighborhoods, and
And
sometimes there's
there's
that.
there's also been a huge uptick since COVID, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Towards especially Asians.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I remember even flying back from Mexico in late January when everything wasn't, everything didn't explode yet. But I was flying back and like hearing the news about the first case of COVID, or back then the novel coronavirus in Vancouver. I heard about that while we were flying back, and then I just remembered like being on the plane, and I'd see like Chinese families with masks on, and like I can only just imagine, the sort of discrimination at that time that they might have felt.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-mm.
and then a year later, like I know for sure, like I don't want to like project or anything like that, but I know for sure like a lot of them have faced, especially Chinese
Yeah.
folks.
Well, heck, my mom, when she was walking by the park back in April, March or April, that's
Yeah.
one of the first things she experienced. She's walking down like
Mm,
Cayuga
That was
Park.
last year, though, right?
That was
jeez.
last year.
Yeah, last year.
And doing her normal walk, and someone was yelling at her, "Hey, get away from me, China virus!" And I'm like, "Oh man!"
Oh
And
jeez. Yeah, even yeah,
And this is
I
San
even
Francisco
remember.
diversity area,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I just saw like another San Francisco. Something happened in
Mm.
San Francisco.
Majority of these cases are happening in New York or San Francisco.
Diverse and liberal
Yeah, yeah.
areas.
Yeah, diverse liberal areas, but this is where the majority of these kind of like violent episodes are happening.
Mhm.
Is in California and New York. So
that are now being reported on.
yeah,
Right.
they're being
Oh,
reported on now.
that's
That
right. That's
that
right.
now we know of.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
Right. Right. and
But also,
and
since
it's
people are talking about it, media's talking about it, hey, it's an Asian guy. Let's do something.
yeah, they keep
People are
bringing
sheep
in.
as well too. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is that one. I think it was a father, and he in San Diego, and he had his
Oh, the
little
military guy.
in a stroller, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, this guy just ran and just like started beating his face. And then like in the article it said that the kid was just kind of strolling away, like little by little. And I guess police luckily happened to be there or be near or something, and they caught the guy. And it's interesting you say that, because it's like apparently that guy didn't say anything. There was no words exchanged.
Mhm.
They just said he was mentally crazy and had a history of doing this in the past, like just randomly targeting people. But then the article did read like Asian hate crime, like
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
gear it towards that. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mm.
so, I don't know. It's all awful, right? At the end of the day, it's all completely awful. But then it's
Yeah,
like,
right,
you also
right.
don't want to be, and while there are some very real stories that are happening that are Asian, like hatred filled, there are
Yeah.
also these ones that it's like, okay, like the media, I don't know. Man, I've had such a love hate relationship with media. Like, I mean, man, it is hard to be American sometimes, but
Yeah, yeah, for real, for real, for
yeah,
real.
it's like, you read, my brother in law had a good point. Like, you just read like two opposing articles and then just figure out, like, okay, the truth is in there, like in the middle somehow. Like, it's just so hard to know these days. But, the
Yeah.
headline says something very drastically different than what the article
Yeah,
actually says. But then we also don't really know the truth. Like, other than, yeah, he was clearly beaten up and it was a really scary and terrible situation. But yeah.
what's the other wacky thing is, like, how many times have we seen already these kind of episodes where just people are hanging out, like taking video with their cell phone, but not really actually intervening?
Yeah.
And maybe
Mhm.
people don't feel confident to intervene. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe we need to walk around with tasers and pepper
I'm
spray.
actually, for
I don't
me,
know.
I'm a big proponent. I'm
Concealed carry.
for. No, well, I'm not saying that. I'm for like learning to protect yourself. You know what I mean? Like taking self defense classes,
Right,
and
right.
the way I see it right now, like I think these things are just escalating, or just being
They're just
reported
being
more.
reported
But
now.
I think they
Yeah.
are escalating. I feel like they
Mm.
are. And so like we have to also take responsibility to learn how to protect ourselves and our communities. I mean, like, I kind of flip out because I'm over here in the UK and I think about my parents. I know Jay is there, but then my parents go out on their own. And we already had that one incident where someone was like talking to my mom, "Hey, China virus," and all this stuff. And it's kind of like, oh man, I'm kind of worried about my parents. But
Yeah, and they've taken their own precautions too.
yeah.
But I mean, they've had incidents where some dude walks into the garage and my dad has
Oh
to kind of
my
like
god, that thing is,
yell the
yeah,
crap out of him and gently escort him out.
Oh
But
my
my dad's older now. He would
yeah,
that be an easy thing for him to do now? Um,
no,
and so just wonder about that kind of stuff. Um, and just hope that doesn't it we could get better at that. But the biggest concern to me is hey, there's a whole lot of bystanders out there just being bystanders instead
Mhm.
of like active participants. Like don't put that stuff on TikTok, man. If we can do something, um
Why is
to
it on TikTok?
I
I
don't
think
know,
you
I
picked
just
the
thought
wrong
about that.
platform.
Or whatever,
World Star is it?
World Star, whatever, just
oh, it's on
really.
TikTok too.
They
On
Yeah,
put it on
TikTok,
see?
TikTok.
yeah.
They should.
You're like, don't
That's pretty
put
bad.
you're like, really gonna post it on your social media, but you're not gonna do anything? Like, call dang 911.
Yes, because
Maybe
that's what's more important nowadays.
right,
Mhm.
Actually, had another buddy. He went to a restaurant to pick up food, and was verbally assaulted by somebody. And the owner, another Asian American owner, I guess immigrant, they didn't want trouble, right? So they said, "Don't call the police." They're telling all the people around, "Don't call the police," because
Yeah.
it, I guess, would cause them trouble or whatever.
Mhm.
But the guy was like being very belligerent and whatever. Uh, the wacky part is that when the people were trying to call 911, they didn't know the address. They just kind of like knew where it was, because 911 on the cell phone doesn't register to an address. It just goes,
Yeah, because it's a cell phone, right? Yeah.
yeah, because it's a cell phone. So, uh, so in other words, the response time, even if you did call 911, would take a long time still. They're
Yeah.
not going to come. So that means that someone has to be there, to either help intervene and all that. So, I think, we're definitely looking at an issue of like, just the like overall well-being of our society. I think there's it's definitely something that we need to look at, but also for the safety of people too. If people aren't going to respond, then people are going to continue to have agents feel like they have agency to do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. If we ignore it as a community, it's
Right.